Hey everyone, my name is Sophie from Sophisticated Organization. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. If you are new here, I am organizing obsessed, hence Sophisticated Organization, and I always run a decluttering challenge at the beginning of every year. I call it the Sophisticated Declutter. It's a 6-month decluttering challenge, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And I was just starting to prep some of the things that I want to do this year and how I want to make it different, and that got me to thinking, I am in the mode of starting to pre-organize for the beginning of the year. And I want to share with you some of the things that I do and I think you should do to get organized before the end of the year. A lot of people think about the new year as a great time to start fresh, set goals, organize, declutter, all of those things, and just have a clean slate. I love to do that as well. I love nothing more than a fresh start to the year and beginning anew. But there's a lot of work that you can do in these last few weeks of the year to get prepared so you can start the new year on that blank slate. So some of the things that I like to do first off is to reflect. I go and identify some of the things that haven't gone as well as I have wanted them to over the past year. They could be maybe health related. They could be related to your relationships. They could be related to your productivity, management of your home, maybe they could be finance related, work related, all of those things. Run a full inventory of everything in your life and figure out what did not go well. Also helpful to think of the things that went well, but based off of the things that didn't go well, that's how you're going to start to formulate your goals for the next year ahead. I plan on sharing my personal goals and how I came up with those goals in a separate video. I do that at the end of every year. I actually do it quarterly, talk about how the quarter went, goals that I'm setting, how things went, all of that. So if you are interested, make sure you're subscribed to my channel and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new videos and you can see when that video goes live. Coming up with your goals now is a much better idea than scrambling on the 31st or the 1st and just trying to quickly come up with things. This gives you a few weeks to really marinate and think about the different things that didn't go well and come up with goals that are going to be meaningful and make an impact for you in the future. A few quick tips. I don't want to stick on this for too long, but make sure your goals aren't taking on too much. You really want to try and make them realistic. I listed out a bunch of different topics that might be ideas for areas that you want to improve in the next year. Don't do all of them and then make huge goals on top of them, especially huge goals that are deviations from what you've done over the past year. You want to kind of slowly build up to things. And it could also be a great idea to have a goal that does have that built up. So maybe for the first quarter of the year, you want to start exercising twice a week. And then the next quarter, you want to do 3 days a week. And then the next quarter, you want to do 4 days a week, and so on and so forth. The next thing I think that everybody should have as a goal and something they can start on right now and should actually be doing all of the time is decluttering and organizing. So when I talk about doing the sophisticated declutter every single year, I use that as my motivation and my check-in with my space every single year. Organizing is not a one-time thing. Decluttering is not a one-time thing. We're constantly moving things around our house, constantly bringing things into our home, hopefully also bringing some things out of our homes, but it doesn't always happen if you don't put that focus on it. So by doing something like this structured, sophisticated declutter every year, just gives you that opportunity to check in with all of your spaces, and that's something that you can start to plan for before the beginning of the year so you're ready to go on day one. If you are going to follow along with me on the sophisticated declutter, I will be guiding you through that on Instagram and on YouTube. So again, make sure you are subscribed to my channel and that you are following me on Instagram, and I will help guide you through that whole thing. So make the decision now if that's something you want to do, or if you want to go on your own and start doing it, kind of come up with a game plan for how you're going to tackle your home in the next year. In terms of specific things that you can do for organizing, some areas I would really try and focus on if you want to get a jump start on organizing before the beginning of the year would be places like your fridge, freezer, and pantry. So all of your food. A lot of times you don't think about food as food organization and food decluttering, but it's a really good opportunity to refresh your food supply in terms of understanding what you have, checking expiration dates. Maybe you have some plans for a healthier diet and eating in the next year, and you can use this as an opportunity to maybe get rid of some of that junk food or things that aren't aligning with your diet plans. So go through your food. I also think, speaking of expiration dates, people forget about their bathroom and beauty products. Do a quick refresh in there, check for expiration dates. You can look on the tube of the bottle. There's also some websites that you can use that there are batch codes and numbers sometimes on bottles. You can actually look them up on different websites and see how long the product has been around, so you can try and declutter them that way. I would also take an opportunity to look at your closet. Don't go overboard if you have goals maybe in the new year to really go through and declutter your whole home. But it's a great opportunity to check in with your sense of style, figure out if you have a certain type of wardrobe that isn't really working for you, switch clothes in and out. The closet is always a great spot to declutter, so that's one of my favorites as well. And this kind of leads to my next point, which is start now. There is no downside to starting your goals now, starting decluttering and organizing your home now. Of course, it feels nice to start on January 1st, but life gets in the way a lot of times, and it can be helpful to give yourself a jump start now. So if there's a huge project that you want to accomplish next year, why not get yourself a little bit ahead if you can? Of course, there are the holidays, and the end of the year is just a really busy time. So for a lot of people, that getting a jump start might be more so planning than the actual implementation and doing of that task or goal or whatever it might be. So even if you just get a plan in place now, will prevent you from scrambling again right when it comes to the first of the year. Another great thing to do is to start establishing a routine. I think a lot of the issues in our day-to-day lives can be resolved or helped a little bit with a better routine. And that could be what you think of as like your traditional daily routine and habits, but also it could be like a cleaning routine or anything a little bit more specific. And what I personally am going to do is work on my routine, because I think as the year progresses, it kind of just gets a little bit chaotic. And again, with the holidays coming up, it gets even more chaotic. So it's a good time to, apart from maybe those days that aren't your normal typical days, know that you may deviate a little bit, but to start to practice and trial run that routine. Try to begin doing it and see if it actually works for you, because then you have the time to tweak it, and then you can, when it's January 1st, say, okay, here is my new routine. I've had a little time to play around with it, and I know this is something that's actually going to work for me. Next thing I like to do before the year starts is to look ahead in the future. If you can start to plan out what your next year looks like, that could be calendaring certain events that you're aware of. If you've been invited to weddings, if you have travel plans, maybe you can start to purchase some of those plane tickets or look at hotel reservations and do some of those things in advance, and just in general have a good sense for what your year ahead is going to look like. Knowing that in advance is going to help with all of these other things and put all of the puzzle pieces together, so you don't set too lofty of goals because you have all of these other commitments maybe throughout the year, or double commit yourself to something. Again, just looking ahead to the future and scanning all of those things can really help a lot. The next thing I would say is to get the family involved. If you live with maybe a spouse or kids or even a roommate, you can share your goals, share your plans, share what's going on in your mind in terms of what you want to try and do in the next year, but also what you're trying to do right now to get organized and refocus, because it's going to help you to have an accountability partner and make sure everyone's on the same page. There's nothing worse than you in your mind creating this wonderful plan. You're so excited about it. You're ready to implement it, and you haven't shared that plan with the other people who may be involved in those aspects of your life, and they can't help support you. They can't help be a part of the plan if they're not aware of it. So sharing the things that you are planning on doing with others is a really great idea. The last thing I'll say, which I kind of touched on a little bit earlier when we talked about reflecting on the things that didn't go well, but also reflecting on the things that did go well, you should take a moment to celebrate your successes. There are likely many things that happened over the past year that went well for you and that you can celebrate and be really proud of, and try and make sure you can keep those things going in the next year. I hope you liked this video, got a few ideas for how you can get organized for the year ahead. Again, stay tuned for things like my goal planning and sharing those goals with you and some tips that I have, as well as staying tuned for the sophisticated clutter for 2025. I'm so excited. Happy holidays, everyone. And until next time, I will see you all later.